Hey friends! My name is Desiree, aka Mama Friendly. I do all sorts of videos on my channel, cooking videos, vlogs, hauls, Disney content, vlogmas, a little bit of everything. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, I hope you'll subscribe and join me on my YouTube adventure. Vlogmas continues, and as such, so does my 12 Days of Cookies series. And today I am adapting yet another recipe that I've never made before. I'm going to be making some hot chocolate cookies. I say adapting because I did find this recipe online, but the original recipe is completely not allergy friendly at all. Regular flour, regular butter, etc. I eat gluten and dairy free, and so all the recipes on my channel are gluten and dairy free. So I adapt all these recipes that I find to make them fit my lifestyle. As such, if you also are gluten or dairy free or both, you'll be able to make this recipe right along with me without having to do any of the guesswork because I've done it for you. Now today, or actually tomorrow, because I'm going to let these cookies sit overnight in the fridge. You don't have to do that. As long as they chill for at least an hour, you're fine. But I am taking the option to let them chill up to 24 hours. To start the dough today, I'm going to refrigerate it overnight. I'm going to bake it off tomorrow. So I'm going to start, as always, by showing you what ingredients I'm working with today. So first off, we need 1 cup of softened butter. That means 1 entire brick of the Miyoko's plant-based butter because it does come in an 8-ounce container. And I've had this sitting on my counter for a little over an hour now, so it should be good and softened. 1 cup of sugar, like regular white granulated sugar, and 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar. We need 2 large eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 3 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, but because I'm gluten-free, I'm going to be using the gluten-free 1-to-1 Bob's Red Mill in the blue bag. That's my favorite flour for all things cooking and baking. And we're also going to need 3/4 of a cup of hot cocoa mix. The recipe specifies not to use the sugar-free kind. I don't know about non-dairy, but I'm assuming and hoping that it will work the same. I've only been able to find this on Amazon, and I love it. It tastes exactly like regular Swiss Miss to me. So I'm going to have it linked down below in case you also have a hard time finding it locally in a store. You can at least get it online. This comes 6 envelopes to the pack. I'm not sure how many envelopes we're going to need, but I'll measure it along with you to let you know exactly how much you can set aside for drinking and how much you're going to need for your cookies. 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, there it is, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 cup of chocolate chips. So I'm going to be using the Enjoy Life brand because they are free from 14 allergens. Just regular semi-sweet chips. And lastly, you need 1 cup of mallow bits, or these jet puffed bits. Basically, they're the dehydrated marshmallows that you typically find. Oh, there's even a hot cocoa recipe here for your hot cocoa cookies, which is what we're making. This is not the recipe I'm following though. But you can find these online as well. You might be able to find them in a store, but I got mine on Amazon. You cannot use regular marshmallows because if they're not dehydrated, it's not going to work. It's going to mess up the texture of the cookies. So if you can't find them, like I said, I'll have them linked down below. These are not vegan, but they are gluten and dairy free. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but we need 1 cup of those. So the recipe says to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then just a few steps down, it says refrigerate your dough for at least an hour, but up to 24 hours. So obviously, I will not be preheating my oven to 350 degrees right now because I wouldn't be needing to use it for at the very least an hour. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to jump into making my dough, and that's going to start with beating my butter and both sugars with a mixer until it's light and fluffy. So I am going to be using my hand mixer for this step. So in goes my cup, or my full brick of butter, just like that. This is the equivalent of 2 sticks, by the way. So if you were using regular butter, or if you were using another kind of butter that doesn't come in the 8-ounce brick, then you'd be using 2 sticks. To the butter, I'm going to add in my cup of sugar. There's that, and we need 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar. Brown sugar measurement does not say to pack it, so I'm not going to. That's something that you have to pay a lot of attention to when you're baking because there's a huge difference in the amount when you pack brown sugar and when you don't. So I'm just kind of giving it a shake to make sure I've reached the 2/3 of a cup line, but I'm not packing it down. so I'm not getting that much brown sugar. So now I'm going to use my mixer to bring these together until they're light and fluffy. Okay, that's not quite fluffy, but certainly a lot lighter and definitely combined. So I feel like maybe my butter could stand to be a tiny bit softer, but the thing is, the last time I baked cookies, I feel like I let the butter get a little too soft and it did affect the texture some. So I'd rather err on the side of slightly too cold rather than slightly too warm. Is that correct? I don't know. I guess we'll find out together. So now to this, I'm going to add in my vanilla and my eggs. And once again, we're going to hit it with the mixer to bring it all together. So thereabouts is my vanilla. You guys know I never measure vanilla. Again, is that correct? I don't know, but it's what I do. And my 2 eggs. 1 and 2. And obviously this is also going to make their situation a lot lighter and fluffier. So let's get to it. So here's the thing. The next part of the recipe says, in a separate bowl, combine dry ingredients into butter mixture. I'm sure they mean put your dry ingredients into a separate bowl, and once they are combined, go ahead and put them in the butter mixture. I am not going to do that. Again, do as I say, not as I do. I would say follow the recipe exactly as it's written, but as you can tell from what I've just told you, it's really not written all that well either. But I figure it's all going to end up in here anyways, and I am going to be using this guy, so it will all get incorporated. Is it the correct way? I don't know. Is it what I'm doing? Yes. Typically I say when baking, follow everything exactly, because baking is a science. Cooking is like jazz. You can riff when it comes to cooking. You really should not riff when it comes to baking. So, I'm going to do my best here with what I've got. And what I've got is a deep, deep desire to not have to wash any more things than absolutely necessary. So, in the meantime, while I've been yapping your ear off, that's been 3 cups of flour. And I need to add in another 1/4 cup, which might be almost precisely what I have left in this bag, as luck would have it. Pretty much. I do need to take a slight little tiny bit from this second bag, which is fine because like I said, I'm baking some more today anyways, so no big deal. I do wish I'd gotten a bigger bowl though, now that I'm seeing just how much is going on in this bowl so far, and I'm not done yet. I'm going to go ahead and add in my salt now. I'm going to add in my 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I'm going to open up my baking powder and add in my 2 teaspoons of that. And then the last thing we're going to do is measure out just how many of these envelopes of hot cocoa mix make up 3/4 of a cup. So that's 1, 2 of the baking powder. Turns out I needed 4 envelopes to make up 3/4 of a cup, which means you're still left with 2 to make up a nice cup of hot cocoa and enjoy with your cookies. Kiddo is delirious right now, so that's some fun background sounds for you. I'm going to try my best to bring this all together in this way too small bowl without causing an absolute avalanche in my kitchen, so wish me luck. Messier than I would have liked? Yes. A full-blown disaster? Not so much, so I'm okay with that. The last step before we put this into the fridge to chill is we need to add in our cup of mallow bits, jet pup bits, what have you. That's going in. And obviously for this step, you do not want to use your hand mixer because you will obliterate the marshmallows, and we don't want that. We need our cup of chocolate chips. And if you wanted to, you could use white chocolate chips instead. Enjoy Life also makes a white chocolate chip that's allergy friendly, but I'm going with just the regular so that it has a bit of a contrast to the marshmallows. And again, try our best to incorporate everything considering how little space I have. If there's one thing you should take away from this first part of the video, is use a bigger bowl than you think you need.
learn from my mistakes. You want to make sure to try to incorporate this as best as you can now, because once it's chilled, the dough is going to presumably firm up, and then it's going to get really difficult to get any mix-ins incorporated. As it is, it's already pretty hard, so that looks and feels good to me. So now I'm going to cover this with saran wrap as close to the dough as I can, and I'm going to stick it in the fridge, again, an hour at least, up to 24 hours, however the scheduling works out for you.
Hey friends, it's the next day, it's the next morning actually, so the cookie dough has been refrigerated for, I'd say about 18 hours at this point, and we are ready to bake. I went ahead and preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got a cookie sheet, baking sheet, what have you, and I have my dough here ready to go, plus I have my handy dandy cookie scoop, which I always link anytime I use it in a video, so check out the description box if you're looking for one for yourself. I am basically going to dole out little scoops of dough. I'm going to do it directly onto the pan, but if you want, you can go ahead and put parchment paper down, completely up to you. And I'm going to separate them in a way where they have maybe an inch and a half of clearance between them. I'm aiming to get 12 cookies onto the one pan, and I'm going to bake them for 9 to 11 minutes. I tend to err on the longer side of baking because I have an older oven, and if I don't do that, I'm going to end up baking it for longer anyway. So I will begin at 11 minutes. I'll check on them and I'll see if they need more time after that. For a typical oven, start checking at 9. You're not going to see too much color change in these, but you will see them spread some, and you're going to see that they get kind of like firm and dry around the edges, and that's when you'll know that they're done. So let's get to scooping, let's get to baking. Here's our dough, by the way, and it's looking quite hot cocoa-y, with the marshmallows and the chocolate chips throughout. Ooh, and it's really, really firm, which is, I guess, what we wanted, right? So there's our little scoops. I'm not even going to bother reshaping them. I'm literally just going to put them down as is. Bloop. I feel like that's pretty good. I'm going to scoot them over just a tiny bit to leave this one a little more space. I'll repeat that 2 more times for 3 rows total. And that'll give us our 12 cookies. So obviously this is going to make more than one batch. Yeah, man, we've got our 12 cookies down here already, and we still have all of this dough. By the way, look how nice that disbursement of marshmallows and chocolate chips looks. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is we're definitely going to get at least 3 dozen cookies out of this. I wouldn't be surprised if we are able to get a whole 4 dozen out of it. 11 minutes later, they're out of the oven. They smell so nice, and I can see that the marshmallows actually kind of melted and bubbled up a little bit, just like the chocolate chips did. So I think this is going to make for a really, really nice texture in our cookies. I'm going to let them sit on the pan for at least 5 minutes so that the carryover heat continues to cook them, and then hopefully they'll cool down enough that I'm able to just slide them right off the pan without them breaking. If I'm not able to do all that after about 5 minutes, then I know that they could use a little bit more time in the oven, so I'll go ahead and do that at that point. But this was an 11-minute bake, and like I said, I'm going to give them 5 minutes to continue cooking just on the pan here, and then we can do a taste test so that I can, off camera, go ahead and finish the other 18 dozen cookies that this dough is going to make. It's been about 5 minutes since we last spoke, and as you can see, for the most part, the cookies are coming away from the pan and maintaining their shape. So I feel good about the bake time, and I think I would recommend using parchment paper all the same just to keep them from sticking, but for me, 11 minutes baking and 5 minutes of waiting worked out. You could see the marshmallow and the chocolate on all the cookies. They have a very definite hot cocoa look to them. So we're going to go ahead and get a texture check. They're all gooey from the marshmallow. That looks like it's going to be amazing, and they're nice and crisp on the outside. Just like I expected. It tastes like hot cocoa. It's got the crunch of the cookie, but it's soft because of all the marshmallow and the chocolate chips inside. These are delicious. Honestly, these might be my favorite cookies that I've made so far this season. The outside is really like crisp and crunchy, but the inside is really soft, and the hot cocoa flavor is unmistakable. 10 out of 10 would absolutely recommend that you try these cookies. They're so tasty. They have a definite winter vibe without being like too in your face about it. These are cookies that could be delicious all year round, honestly. In fact, I think these could also be adapted to make a great s'mores cookie. If you were to get some gluten-free graham crackers and crush them up and put the dust into the dough before baking. So all that being said, I hope that you'll give this recipe a try. They're really, really, really yummy cookies. And if you do try it, I hope you'll come back and let me know how you like it. I hope you all are enjoying Vlogmas so far, and I also hope that you are subscribed and that you've clicked that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new uploads. I'm putting up a new video every single day this month from the 1st to the 25th, and I wouldn't want you to miss a minute. Thanks so much again for watching. Bye!